Lacking the willpower to get what you want? Keep watching. This is Life Mastery Gym. I'm Damon Cart, and I teach people just like you cutting edge NLP processes and techniques so that you can master your life and take charge of your destiny. So if that sounds good, make sure you click that subscribe button right down here. How do you build up your self-discipline and your willpower to the point that you can accomplish anything you want? By the end of this video, you're going to understand how. After years of struggling with this and struggling to have the motivation, the willpower, and the drive to accomplish what it is that I want, I finally found some answers. And not only did I find answers, but I put it to work and I apply it in my life and I use it with all of my clients with tremendous success. Okay, so the first thing I want you to think about is, what if there was no self-discipline and no willpower? Now, before I get into this, in the comments below, let me know what it is that you want to accomplish that you feel like lack of willpower and lack of self-discipline is keeping you from. I will respond to you. Okay, so take a moment and think about that. What if there was no such thing as willpower and self-discipline? Now, right away you might think, well, I wouldn't get anything done. Think about this for a second. Think about there is just knowing what you want and then doing it. And not even thinking about, do I have the willpower, or do I have the motivation or the self-discipline to do it? Just think about that for a moment. And you might even want to pause this video and just contemplate that. Let your imagination go wild with this. There's no such thing as self-discipline and willpower. I just know what I want and then I do it and then I get what I want. And I'm happy about that. Think about that for a moment. Now, the second point here that I want to make is actually an analogy. So some of you who watch my videos know that I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu because I often use Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as an analogy for life or for a lot of the concepts that I'm describing. Now, if you are familiar with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you know that it's kind of like wrestling, and there's a lot of techniques. It's done from the ground. And if you know even a little bit more about it, you know that it was designed for a smaller person to beat a larger person. The person who really championed Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Helio Gracie, was a very small, kind of frail guy. And he worked really hard at learning how to beat bigger guys. And one of the ways that he did that, well, he had to use something besides strength, and he had to use something besides weight. So he developed techniques, and he developed his abilities and his skills. And in jiu-jitsu, when I first started learning it, I didn't know techniques. So what did I use? I used my strength and I used my weight. And a lot of the black belts would tell me, that's only going to get you so far. You really need to learn techniques. You can overpower another person with strength, but if that other person knows more technique, it doesn't matter how much strength you have. So at some point, strength is finite. And this is how I want you to start thinking about willpower and self-discipline. Can you use willpower and self-discipline to accomplish things? Of course you can. I know many people who do. And I know that I've done certain things or achieved certain goals through sheer willpower and discipline. But what does that tell you? If you have to work like this, if you have to work so hard to do it, maybe you have to do that because you're not clear about what you want. Maybe you have to do that because you're not clear about your motivation. And so because you're not motivated, you have to use this thing that we call self-discipline. You have to use this thing, you have to will yourself to do it. Now, when I started learning about values, I started realizing that the more clear I was about why I wanted something, meaning what was the value behind the achievement? What was the value behind the material object that I wanted? Because we don't just want objects, we don't just want achievements. And we know this because certain achievements are a big deal for some people and not for other people. So there's no inherent value in an achievement. There's no inherent value in an object. It's what does the individual, what do you value about it? So you want to make $1 million a year? Okay, well, what is important to you about that? What is it you want? What is your big why? What's behind that? And you can go really, really deep with this. And some people might start off by saying security. Well, What does security give you? Peace of mind. Okay, great. What does peace of mind give you? Well, it gives me happiness. When you get very, very clear about what it is that you want, motivation starts to rise up. And when you can see what it is you want, you become much more motivated toward it. Think about when you're traveling somewhere, or maybe you're a runner and you see the finish line. Well, when you see the finish line, what happens? You become much more motivated. You start running faster. Whereas before you probably had to find a stride where you needed to conserve some energy. But when you see that finish line, you get excited, you get motivated, and you start moving toward it. And you forget about willing yourself to do it. You forget about having to discipline yourself to do it. It has its own natural motivation. You can even think about when you're going to grab something. The closer your hand gets to grabbing it, the faster it moves toward it. And that's a really good analogy for how this works. And one more analogy. When you're hungry and there's a plate of food in front of you, you would never stop to ask yourself, I wonder if I'm motivated to eat this. I wonder if I have the willpower and the discipline to pick up my fork and my knife and cut through all this and bring the food up to my mouth and then to chew it and swallow it. You never think those things. Why? Because you don't even think about it. You know you want it and you just do it. I'm going to tell you one more story. When I was growing up, my father took me to see Jim Rohn. If you don't know who Jim Rohn is, find out who he is after you watch this video, and maybe buy some of his books or his programs. He has passed away. He's no longer alive. He was Tony Robbins' inspiration for going into the work that Tony Robbins went into, and he also mentored Tony Robbins for a while. He also liked to poke fun at Tony Robbins. He wasn't as big as Tony, but Jim Rohn is pretty big, even after having passed. And somebody asked him, how do I stay motivated? What do I need to do for motivation? And he said, well, Tony goes about it backwards, in my opinion, is what he said. He said, you don't motivate and then go do stuff, because motivation will evaporate. Motivation will go away. That kind of motivation where you pump yourself up and you walk on hot coals and you go out there and you do that, he said, that will go away. He said, education will motivate you. The more educated you become, the more motivated you will become about what it is you want. And he meant education in the sense of educating yourself about what it is that you want. He said, if you get motivated first and you don't educate yourself, he said, you're just a motivated idiot. So he said, educate yourself, and then that will motivate you. And I will take that even further. What he was basically saying is clarity, educate yourself, understand what it is that you want. That gives you more clarity. And then also taking the steps to get it, and educating yourself about what it is you want is taking steps to get what you want. So it's the action and it's the knowledge and the clarity that creates that kind of motivation. Motivation that lasts, motivation that is sustainable, motivation that doesn't need you to will yourself through it or discipline yourself for it. So to summarize all of this, the main thing is to know your values, know what you value, know what the accomplishment or the material object, whatever it is, the goal, know what the deeper values are behind that. When you tap into that and you connect to that, you don't need self-discipline. You don't need willpower. Like I said, those things are finite. They will give out at some point. Sure, you could use it, but it's really a crutch. When you rely on discipline and willpower, it's just like a white belt relying on his strength to win a match and not cultivating the technique, which is really what will take you much further, which is, if you cultivate enough technique and you get really, really good at it, you can beat any opponent. But if you just rely on strength, you're always going to run into an opponent who is stronger than you. So take the time to cultivate the technique, which is in a sense taking the time to understand your values and get clear about what it is you want, and that creates natural motivation. Progress is a way to motivate you. The more progress you see or experience, the more motivated you will become. So have a way to measure what it is that you're doing. If you can't measure it, or you haven't set up a way to measure it, you can't tell if you're progressing. And if you can't tell if you're progressing, you're going to quit. And then you're going to tell yourself, oh, I didn't have enough willpower or discipline. And that's not what it is. You need to know that you are getting closer and closer to what it is that you want. And you need to know if you're not getting closer so that you can change up what it is that you're doing. Last but not least, this is going to sound a little strange, but hear me out. Be willing to quit. Wait a minute, this is not why you're watching this video, to learn how to quit. You're watching this video to learn how to boost your willpower and your discipline. Here's what I mean by this. The more clear you get about what it is you want, meaning you know your values, you're making progress, you're taking steps to it, you're educating yourself, you're taking action, you might start to realize that the goal you set for yourself, the object you started chasing, isn't really what you want. It doesn't really fulfill your values. It's not going to give you the joy and the happiness that you want. So why are you chasing it? When people get caught up in self-discipline and willpower, they continue to chase something that probably won't fulfill them. Why? Because they're relying on willpower and discipline, and they're blinded by it. But if you're using clarity about what you want, clarity about your values, and you're measuring the progress and you're educating yourself about this, you might realize, whoa, wait a minute, this isn't going to do it for me. I need to set a different goal. I need to chase something else. And one way to know that is when you're very clear about what it is you want, and the achievement's going to fulfill you, every step of the way, the journey fulfills you. So it gives you more motivation, and you're never going to quit, because why would you? You're enjoying yourself. You feel fulfilled. But if you're using discipline and willpower to will yourself through it, and you don't have the understanding or the clarity to know that this thing isn't really fulfilling you. And one of the reasons why you're using willpower and discipline to begin with is because you don't really enjoy the process either. But you push through it, maybe you achieve it, and then you're not going to be happy, or you quit, and then you get down on yourself and you say, well, oh, I just didn't have enough willpower. I just didn't have enough discipline. And so many people do this, and it's absolutely wrong, and they beat themselves up about it, and so they don't try something else. They don't go after another goal, and they never truly achieve their potential. So the more clarity you have, the more you understand your values, it's going to be fulfilling through the process. You're going to be fulfilled, especially when you see the progress. And because it's connected to your values, it's going to fulfill you every step of the way. And that's how you create lasting motivation. And you don't need willpower, and you don't need self-discipline. These ideas are probably quite new for you. They're kind of counterintuitive, especially if you're in the self-improvement and personal development field, or you want to improve your life, because this goes against what a lot of other people are saying. And be skeptical about this. I don't mind that. Put these ideas to the test and see what you get. So if you'd like a summary report, a free PDF on a summary of everything that I've mentioned here, if you go to the description right down below, you'll see a link. Just click that link and you can get access to a free PDF. I'll also put the link pinned to the top of the comments right down here. If you like this video, please click the like button right down here. And if you haven't subscribed already, why haven't you subscribed already? Make sure you hit that subscribe button right down here and click the bell so you'll be notified when I put new videos out. And last but not least, if you can think of a friend or a family member who you think would really get a lot of benefit out of this video, make sure you share it with them. Take care.